Hello, magandang araw. Si Teacher Matrix po ito. Sa ngayon, hindi muna tayo magsasolve ng mathematical problem. Kasi, yung estudyante ko muna ang ipapapresent ko ng kanyang virtual lesson demonstration. Gusto ko lang kasi ipakita kung paano niya i-demonstrate yung mga lessons sa mathematics. Katulad ng ginawa niya nung previous video ko. Ito, second video na niya to. And then, project niya kasi ito, kaya gusto kong malaman din ninyo kung paano yung pag-demonstrate niya, kung paano niya gawin ang pagtuturo virtually. Excited na ba kayo? At bago natin umpisahan, panoorin niyo muna to. Welcome to my channel.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to our Statistics and Probability Grade 11 class. So, good morning. How are you today? Oh, it's good to hear that you are fine. Now, before we start, let's have our verse of the day. It's in Philippians 4:13. It says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So it means to say that we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us and who will provide us everything we need to do the things that we must do every day, and of course to understand our lesson daily. So this is the verse of the day. And let's have a prayer. I ask Michael to lead us in prayer. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Good morning, class. Good morning once again. So, are you ready for a lesson? It's good to hear that you're excited. But first, we will have our attendance. Okay. First, for the boys. Oh, it's perfect attendance for the boys. And how about the girls? Oh, I'm so happy that no one is absent today. So let's start. Let's have our lesson. Our lesson for today is formulating appropriate null and alternative hypothesis on a population mean. Is it familiar to you, the hypothesis? Of course, it's very familiar. Now let's have a review. It's time for a review of what you know. What time is it? It's review time. Okay. Now let's have this activity. Let's have first this situation. The survey shows that the number of the students and who have their own laptop is less than 10. So what will be the inequality expression? These are the options. You have A, B, C, and D. Okay, who will volunteer? Who will answer number 1 situation? Okay, I can see a hand raising. Okay, let's have Mariah. Okay, very good. It's letter A, which is n is less than 10. Okay, very good. Now let's have second situation. there are at least 25 people and in the gym. So what will be the equality or inequality expression in this situation? Is it A, n equals 25? Is it B, n less than 25? Or is it C, n is greater than or equal to 25? Or letter D, which is n less than or equal to 25? So what's the answer? Of course, it's letter C. Very good, Michael. Now let's have number 3. There are more than 6 members and in Anna's family. How many members? It's more than 6. So what's the inequality expression in this situation? Is it A, n less than 6? Or B, n equals 6? Or C, n greater than or equal to 6? Or D, n is more greater than 6? So what's the answer? All right. Very good, Steve. It's letter D. Now let's have number 4. Can you read it, John? And the options. Okay. So what's the answer? It's letter D, of course. There were at most 43 students present in attendance. So the answer is n less than or equal to 43. Very good. Now let's have the last one. Situation. John's father monthly salary n is equal to 25,000 pesos. First, the option is n less than 25,000. Or letter B, is it equal? Or C, is it greater than? Or letter D, greater than or equal to 25,000? What's the answer? Okay, thank you, Jerry. It's letter B. Very good, class. I see that you really learned the equality and inequality expressions. Now let's go to a motivation, which is making conjectures. So I will present a picture here, and all you have to do is look at it and then share to the class what you see first as you look at it, the moment you look at it. Okay? So here is the picture. Are you ready? Okay, here's the picture. Okay, Michael, what have you seen? What did you see first? Okay, you've seen old people in the picture, okay? How about others? Oh, you see an image before you see the old people, okay? Now, let's have your ideas and put it into a hypothesis statement. So this is a hypothesis statement. Most people will look at this and first see a couple of old people. And the null hypothesis will be, when most people look at this, they will see first an image other than the old people, as what you have shared a while ago. So, next, let's have the meaning of hypothesis. Hypothesis is a supposition or proposed explanation made on the basis of limited evidence as starting point for further investigation. So, now let's have our lesson. Formulating appropriate null and alternative hypothesis on a population mean. So, what is an statistics hypothesis and what are the null and alternative hypothesis? Now let's go to their definition and differentiation. But before that, let's have first the learning objectives. At the end of the session, the student shall be able to, of course, first identify the notation to be used in formulating hypothesis. You will also learn how to illustrate one-tailed and two-tailed tests and to differentiate null and alternative hypothesis. And the last one, you will be able to formulate null and alternative hypothesis. Now let's go to the definition and the differentiation. Okay, then we have a statistical hypothesis is a statement about a parameter and deals with evaluating the value of parameter. Of course, you all know what's parameter, right? Your previous lesson? Okay, very good. It's really important to remember what you have learned and because you can use it to the next lesson like this. Okay, let's have the null hypothesis, the difference between them with the alternative hypothesis. Okay, let's have first the null hypothesis. Null hypothesis is an initial claim. It is an initial claim. When you have a research, it is an initial claim. Hypothesis is really important when you are going to do a research. So, next, what's null hypothesis? It shows no significant difference, no changes, nothing happened, no relationship between two parameters, and the last one is the independent variable has no effect on the dependent variable. Then how about the alternative hypothesis? Of course, it is opposite to the null hypothesis. It shows that there is significant difference, change, relationship between parameter and specific value, and the independent variable of the alternative hypothesis has effect on the dependent variable. So that's the difference between null and alternative hypothesis. Now, this is the symbol for null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. For null, you can use H sub, this is 0, and then versus the alternative hypothesis, which is H sub 1, or you can use H sub A. Then let's go to the mathematical symbols used in null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. When we say null hypothesis, the symbol you will be using is, of course, equal sign, the greater than or equal sign, or less than or equal sign. While on the alternative hypothesis is not equal, less than, or greater than, or more than symbols. Okay. Then, let us have first the steps on how you can formulate a null and alternative hypothesis correctly. So there are steps. First step is you identify the parameter in a given problem. Of course, you all know what's the parameter and how to identify the parameter in a given problem. The next is identify the claim to be tested that may show up in null or alternative hypothesis. And next is that claim, you will be translating it into mathematical symbols or notations. Then, the last one, you will formulate first the null hypothesis, of course, before the alternative hypothesis, based on the three different ways in writing hypothesis as illustrated below. So, these are the illustration. If the initial claim or the claim is equal, has the sign equal, if it's a null hypothesis, it has equal sign. Then the alternative hypothesis, which is opposite to equal, which is not equal, you will use that in alternative hypothesis. While if the claim is in alternative hypothesis that uses greater than, then the null hypothesis symbol will be less than or equal. You will use that. Okay? Remember this. Remember these symbols. If your claim is in or under the alternative hypothesis, which is in the symbol of less than, then the null hypothesis symbol will be greater than or equal. You will use this one, greater than or equal, if the alternative hypothesis symbol is less than. Okay, you understand? Is there any question? Okay, we can press the button. the raise hand button if you have a question. If you understand, you can press thumbs up or heart. Do you understand? Okay, thank you. Then next, let's have the common phrases used in hypothesis testing. We have the symbols, the equal sign, not equal sign, the greater than or equal, the greater than, the less than, or the less than or equal sign. Now let's have first the equal sign. In our problem, you will see these phrases. This is equal to, is the same as, is exactly the same as, has not changed from. Then this means this is an equal sign. This uses an equal symbol. The next is for not equal, the phrases will be is not equal to, is not the same, is different from, has changed from. And for greater than or equal sign, the phrases equivalent to this symbol is as, is at least, is not less than, is greater than, or equal to. Then let us have greater than symbol. The phrases equivalent to this sign is increased, is greater than, is higher than, is above, is bigger than, is longer than, is more than. And for less than, the phrases equivalent to less than sign is decreased, is less than, is lower than, is below, is smaller than, is decreased or reduced from, and is not more than. Then how about the less than and equal sign? Of course, thank you, Michael. Is at most, is not more than, is not, is less than or equal to. So familiarize these phrases and then their equivalent symbols. You will counter these phrases when we will have a quiz or you will do a problem solving. Next is, let's have an example. State the null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis in notations for each given situation. Here is the example problem. The average height of all grade 11 students in senior high school is 169 centimeters. Is this claim true? Now, what is the parameter? Of course, the parameter is the average height of all grade 11 students in senior high school is 169 centimeters. Let's have what about the symbol? What about the symbol? Of course, the symbol is mu or the mean because it is average. So the symbol will be mean is equal to 169 centimeters. Now let's have the null hypothesis. The average height, if all grade 11 students is 169 centimeters, in symbols will be mu is equal to 169. What about the alternative hypothesis? Of course, the average height of all grade 11 students is not equal to 169 centimeters. You can see the symbol used in alternative hypothesis is not equal. Very good. Let's have the second example. The average price per square meter of a residential lot in an exclusive subdivision is above 15,000 pesos. A buyer wants to test the agent's claim. So the parameter is the average price per square meter of a residential lot in an exclusive subdivision is above 15,000 pesos. Okay, very good. Then the symbol will be, of course, still the mu because it is average. It uses the word average. Okay, then the parameter is average, so we use, okay, and it's greater than because of the phrase above. So the sign will be greater than 15,000 pesos. Now, the claim, where does the claim belongs? Alternative hypothesis or in the null hypothesis? Okay, very good. It's in the alternative hypothesis because it uses greater than sign. Okay, then what will be the null hypothesis? Of course, it will be it uses greater than or equal to 15,000 or equal to 15,000 pesos. Very good. Now let's have this one-tailed and two-tailed test. What is one-tailed and two-tailed test? Okay, one-tailed test or directional, while two-tailed test is non-directional. So when we say one-tailed test, the hypothesis is one-tailed test, it's because it contains the symbols greater than or less than. Then when we say one-tailed test, it has directions or it's directional, either right-tailed or left-tailed. When we say right-tailed if it uses the symbol greater than or above. And left-tailed, of course, if less than. Then two-tailed test or non-directional contains what symbol? Of course, inequality symbol, which is not equal to. And its opposite to one-tailed test, two-tailed test has no direction. Okay. Here is the table for the two-tailed test, right-tailed test, and left-tailed test for null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. First, let's have the two-tailed test. For two-tailed test, the null hypothesis symbol will be, as you can see here, it's equal sign. And the alternative hypothesis will be, of course, the opposite of equal sign, which is not equal. Then, if it's right-tailed test, then the null hypothesis will be equal or less than or equal. Then the alternative hypothesis will be greater than. While on the left-tailed test, it's always left-tailed test is always less than. The alternative hypothesis is always less than symbol. Then the null hypothesis is, of course, it uses equal sign or greater than or equal sign. Very good, class. Thank you. Okay. Next, let's have this example for one-tailed and two-tailed test. Okay, this is the situation. A piggery owner believes that using organic feeds on his pigs will yield greater income. His average income from the previous year was 120,000 pesos. State the hypothesis and identify the directional test. Okay, what's the claim? Is it under the null hypothesis or the alternative hypothesis? Of course, it's under the alternative hypothesis, which is what symbol should be used? Should we use Okay, it's greater than 120,000 pesos. And the null hypothesis will be what? Less than or equal to 120,000 pesos. Very good, John. Now, the claim is it uses greater than symbol. So the directional test will be the right-tailed test. Okay, next example. The average waiting time of all customers in a restaurant before being served is less than 20 minutes. Determine the hypothesis and the directional test. Okay, so as you can see the phrase here in the problem, use the phrase less than, which is, of course, the less than sign. Now, the claim, this is the claim. The claim belongs to, very good, it's in alternative hypothesis. So, the alternative hypothesis will be, okay, mu is less than 20 minutes. Okay, very good. Then what about the null hypothesis? Okay, it's out greater than or equal to 20 minutes. And because it's less than, the alternative or the claim here is less than, then it is a left-tailed test. Very good. Now, let's have a test to test yourself. This is just 5 items in a Kahoot game. Okay? Invite everyone to please join the Kahoot. Okay, just enter the code that I have sent to you. Okay, I'm waiting for the players. Where is Mariah Krista? Are you in? Okay, let's start. Mariah? Let's start the quiz. Okay, let's start. This is just 5 questions. Okay, the hypothesis states that there is no difference between population parameters and the hypothesis values. So the answer will be, is it hypothesis, a hypothesis, or a alternative hypothesis? Of course, it is a null hypothesis. Next. Next question is, if the researcher wishes to test the claim that the mean of the population is 75, the appropriate null hypothesis is it greater than or equal to 75? Is it less than or equal to 75? Is it not equal to 75? Or is it equal to 75? Right, is it? It is equal to 75. Very good. Let's have the next problem. A blank is a statement about a parameter and deals with evaluating the value of parameter. Okay, is it a hypothesis or is it a statistical hypothesis? Is it a null hypothesis or is it a one-tailed hypothesis? What's the answer? Okay, is a statistical hypothesis. Very good. Next. The sign of the alternative hypothesis in a left-tailed test is always, is it greater than, equal, less than, or greater than or equal? Of course, it is less than. It's always less than. The left-tailed test is always less than. You have to remember that. Next is when the value of parameters has significant difference with the hypothesis value, then it is called a what? Null hypothesis, one-tailed hypothesis, or alternative hypothesis. Of course, it is an alternative hypothesis. Okay, congratulations to the top. For top 1, okay. Congratulations. Now, let's have another exercise which is in the quizzes app. Okay, I have already sent the code. You can enter. It has 10 items only. You can answer it. You can answer it. I will give you 20 minutes. And the result will be posted next meeting. We'll have our top 3 for this quiz. Okay, now it's done. What you have learned for today's lesson? Okay, thank you, Mariah, for that. And what about the others? Okay, very good. You know now how to formulate the right null hypothesis and the what? Alternative hypothesis. Okay, thank you. How about you, Michael? Okay, thank you, Michael. You have learned how to what? How to determine if it is. Okay, very good. How to determine if it is one-tailed test or two-tailed test. Okay. So this is the summary for our lesson today. This is what you've learned. Statistical hypothesis is a statement about a parameter and deals with evaluating the value of parameter. The two kinds of hypothesis are the null and the alternative hypothesis. These are the steps. Okay? And the test hypothesis can be two-tailed if the alternative hypothesis uses not equal or one-tailed if it uses less than or greater than symbols. And the null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis can be denoted as. Okay, very good. Thank you, everyone. And this is the assignment. You can pass it next meeting. Send it to our Google Classroom. So this is your assignment. Cite 3 research questions used in real life and formulate your null and alternative hypothesis. Just like this example, is it true that turmeric can prevent viruses? What's the claim? Okay, the claim or the initial claim is drinking turmeric cannot prevent viruses, which is the null hypothesis. And then the alternative hypothesis will be drinking turmeric can prevent viruses. Okay, very good, class. Okay, they understand your assignment, what you will do? Okay, thank you. Okay. Oh, I can see thumbs up. Oh, there's a heart. Okay, thank you. Thank you, class. See you next meeting. And God bless everyone. Okay, thank you.